Hello, and welcome to the Community Improvement Fund podcast. I am Davey Smith.
And I am Andrew Smith.
And we are your hosts and co-founders of the Community Improvement Fund. So today, we're going to jump right into it. Topic of the day is AI. So kicking off kind of current headlines for AI. I guess to start with, the context of this whole discussion is ChatGPT basically blew up. So for those of you that don't know, ChatGPT is a chatbot that is powered by the AI GPT-4 by a company called OpenAI. So chatbot, you can go to ChatGPT, you can talk to it through text. So you can ask it things, it will respond. This is going to be a gross oversimplification, but basically what it is doing is it has been trained on just tons and tons and tons of information that is out there. It compiles that information, runs it through basically like, I'll say a human speech imitator, right? And then spits it back to you. So you can ask it things like, hey, give me a synopsis of the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and it'll take you down the list and talk to you more or less like how a human would talk to you. So that's been big in the news. This has been a really public leap for artificial intelligence. A lot of people have been kind of afraid of it and are saying, whoa, pump the brakes. So Elon Musk and a bunch of other people have signed on to this, including Microsoft, have signed on to this thing saying that we should pause all development on anything higher than GPT-4 for 6 months. And then as of maybe yesterday, maybe today, the CEO and founder of OpenAI has come out and said, well, this LLM model that we're using to train GPT, the AI, it has its limits on how smart we can get from it before we'll have to switch tactics anyways. So he's kind of saying, pump the brakes. We're not a runaway train here. There are limits to this. So I guess that's the roundup. I'll stop there for comment.
So the only other thing that I know about specifically GPT-4 and what OpenAI is doing, so it is trained on like everything that's ever been written on the internet,
right?
But also there are human employees at OpenAI that give it feedback. So when they're training it and it gives, like in the early stages, it gives a response and they say, like, this was a good response or this was a bad response. And I think they might have like a ranking system, like maybe like this was an 8 out of 10 response, something like that. So that's another component of its training in that. So some people have been critical of them and saying that human, I can't remember what phrase they use for that, but the human feedback that they give it is biased because the employees that work at a leading edge AI company aren't going to be representative of the global population. I'm not as worried about that. So I don't know. I don't know if you had a question you wanted to ask about it. Well, I don't have much to say in general.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point because I guess first off, do you know how machine learning works in general, in broad strokes? I can go through.
Go ahead.
So effectively, machine learning is something that's used all over the place, right? So it's not just chatbots. People have used machine learnings to teach an AI how to play Super Mario. So I actually find the Super Mario example easier to explain than the chat variety. So if you're trying to teach an AI to play Super Mario using machine learning, what you will do is you will give it the controls, right? So Mario can go left or right, and he can jump, right? Fairly similar, fairly simple controls. And then what you do is you program in the objective, right? So Mario, from Super Mario Brothers initially, you start at the left, you start moving right, and you eventually reach a flagpole in which you're done with the level and you've survived.
And it scrolls.
Yeah, and it scrolls from side to side. It's side scrolling. Mario can jump if he runs into the Koopas or the Goombas, then he gets
or falls
dead.
down a hole.
Or falls in a hole, then he's dead. So what you do with for machine learning in this scenario is you say, okay, this is how you control the man. Your objective is to get over here. Go for it. And so what it will do, it will effectively at the beginning just do random stuff, and then every time it dies, right, it assesses, okay, well, did I get closer to the objective?
Yeah, that's the feedback.
Yeah, the feedback is, did what I just do get me closer to my objective? If it's yes, I'm going to do that and more things like it. If it's no, then the feedback is negative, and I'm going to avoid getting stomped by the Goomba, right? And so that's how it learns, is it has this ability to just try a million different things, right, instantaneously, as fast as the computer can process. So when you say there's human feedback involved, for a chatbot, there's no objectively right answer, right? And so you kind of have to have a methodology for giving it feedback to say that response was good or bad. And you'll even see something as simple as, like, I have a Google Home at home. Sometimes it will give me answers, and then it will ask, is that what you were asking for? Like, how did I do a good job there? Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing there, right? You're providing it feedback. When you do those CAPTCHAs, right, and it says, click all the squares that include birds, what they use some of that data for is to feed back into their machine learning to say, okay, we looked at this picture, we think there are birds here, here, and here. How do we know? The computer doesn't know, because that's what it's trying to figure out. So you have humans that say, oh, yep, you're right. So human feedback is part of the equation. As far as bias goes, I think there's a larger discussion there around how highly educated people and people in academia tend to be left-leaning, and how I think that is a problem, because it's not representative of the general population. But I don't.
It's not the biggest problem, I think.
Yeah. I don't really want to dive into that on this one. Maybe we'll save that particular thing for a separate show.
I just think it's not. It is worth worrying about, but not. It's not the top of mind.
Yeah. I one of the big concerns people have brought up is that people don't understand really what AI GPT is. So they'll ask it things. So the NBA playoffs are going on right now. I've seen people who are asking ChatGPT, are the Hawks going to get swept by the Boston Celtics? And it'll give you an answer, but it's not a fortune teller, right? It doesn't see the future.
Right. So I have like a little app that's powered by GPT-4. I asked it something. I don't think I can remember what it was, but it was an opinion. It was like, what's the best blah, blah, blah. And it said, like, the response it gave was, as a artificial intelligence or whatever word it used, I don't really have an opinion on that, but it said people, like, these are the things that people say are the best in or whatever category it was. Do you think that GPT-4 is conscious?
No, it's not even close.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't even think that it imitates consciousness.
It has a very distinct speaking voice. So if you have looked at enough
similar
responses,
tones across.
Well, yeah. If you've seen it, if you have interacted with it enough, you get a feel for how it responds and the tone. Yeah, the tone of voice it's using. So I can read. I'm to the point now because
you can recognize.
I can recognize it. Like I can read something and be like, oh, wait a minute. Like, this is obviously ChatGPT speaking here.
Right.
Because I've tried to get it to do things for me, like write an email, and it just doesn't match my speaking voice, so it doesn't work. Like, I end up having to reword a lot of it just because it's not how I would speak.
Yeah, I think that particular tool is better used. Have you seen it write code?
Yeah, so it's
pretty good at writing code.
That's where I was going to go. So I'm glad you mentioned. I'll kick us off. So one of the big uses of GPT-4 right now is doing other text-based things besides just having pleasant conversation with you. One of the big ones is writing code. So I'm a software engineer. You do software engineering in your job as well. It's one of those jobs where if you ask me, hey, would this be automated anytime soon? 1 year ago, I bet no way, man. Like,
and it turns out it's the first thing that's going to get automated.
Yeah. So GitHub has this thing called GitHub Copilot. If you're a software engineer and you're writing code, most of the likely you're using an IDE which is basically a fancy text editor that helps you write code. Visual Studio Code is a really nice one that I personally like a lot. They have a free plugin, so it's free to use. You can just grab it. That works with GitHub Copilot, which is powered by GPT-4. And
I didn't know it was powered by GPT. I don't think it is.
I'm going to walk that back because I'm not sure on that.
No, it's separate.
It may be separate, but it's powered by AI, right? Some AI. I don't know which engine it is, but what you can do is you can say, hey, go and write me a simple program that, I don't know, I'm going to counts to 10, and it'll spit it out. Which you may be sitting at home thinking, well, surely any idiot could write a program that counts to 10, but like 95% of code that you write is pretty dead simple.
Boilerplate.
Yeah, it's boilerplate. So it's actually a huge use case, especially for somebody like me. So I'm not hands on keyboards all day anymore. When I do need to write some code, I struggle with syntax a lot just because I don't remember.
I think everybody does.
Yeah, and so it's super useful for me to just be like, hey, go write me a Java program that does this, and then it'll spit something out that's really good, and I just spot check it, and I just review it, and I make a couple tweaks, and then I ship it. And I have done this in the past, not professionally, but with GitHub Copilot. Like, I played around with it. It is really good.
I've heard it's good.
So the question is, if a job like that can be automated with GPT, are you not terrified about other jobs that could theoretically really quickly come under the gun and be automated away by AI?
So the number one job that I've heard that is just on the chopping block is like a call center.
Yes.
Because AI is pretty good at answering the phone and just answering like predictable questions that people are going to ask, whether it's about like your insurance policy or product information, like if people call in and ask about features. So I think that one's gone. There's no need for people to do that.
And those in call centers, most of the time too, that you're following a script. So you're not.
Yeah, I mean, you're not just freestyling.
Yeah,
they don't
exactly.
want you to do that.
Yeah, there's an escalation pattern. So, okay, you get a question about this, you ask them these questions. If that doesn't work, you ask them these questions. If none of that works, you escalate to level 2 support or whatever. Yeah, I hate those computer phone
The press
systems.
1, press 2.
Yeah, I hate those today. I think though, those are honestly not that different from what you get in L1 support a lot of time anyways. And I've seen ChatGPT, I've interacted with it. It's way better than honestly both of those things. And even talking to a human, like I can get through that conversation so much quicker if it's just automated.
Because you can interrupt it too.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And so, yeah, it would be so easy to replace a room full of 50 people with 3 people that are just handling the escalations. Because, I mean, when I call somewhere like a doctor's office even, it's not hard. Like I'm confirming an appointment or something easy. When's the last time you were on the phone with customer service and had like a complicated issue? Probably Amazon, right?
Well, I recently had an issue with like credit cards not giving me points or something. And literally just went through the same interaction like 3 times with 3 different people. Nobody could solve my issue. And then they said, all right, we're going to have to submit a ticket. We'll get back to you in like a week. And then someone magically did something in the background and got it to work. So literally everyone I talked to that day could have been a chat bot, and we would have honestly gotten to the same result, because at the end of the day, they had to send me to somebody else who wasn't even on. I mean, they're not even in the room to get my problem resolved.
Yeah, and you can replace phone calls with chat anyway. A lot of websites have chat support that pop up when you go on there and it's like, hey, can I help you? Do you need anything? Those are probably already bots, to be honest.
Most of the time. For sure.
But that's easy enough to like chat. That's a chat bot,
Yeah, and I remember when the Google Pixel, I think it was the Google Pixel, like a few years ago, they debuted it, and they debuted this feature where okay, you need to call this place and make a reservation. Let our Google Assistant do that for you. That's the kind of thing like
and they
I
make
want.
the phone call.
Yeah, and what it would do, it would make the phone call in a AI voice. It would say, "Hey, I would like to make a reservation for 2 at this time," and it was pretty good even at the time. And because it's a predictable conversation, and they just say, "Okay, how many are in your party?" Say 4 people. It would say, oh, "Okay, well, I can't do that. Can you do this?" And then it would be like, "Okay, sure, yeah, I think that would be fine." That's the kind of thing that it would really excel with ChatGPT, and I would be jazzed about, right? Like, think if you had just a little assistant. Like, Google's already pretty good.
Jarvis.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Google's already pretty good at it. You plug a real competent AI into that thing, and now you've got a really, really cool system going.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other jobs like coding, like low-level coding for sure. Call centers.
Oh, those stupid articles on the web that are just
I forgot about
shovel feed articles that are 10 things on the internet you missed this week, or 10 different ways to serve macaroni and cheese. I've seen some of those already are using ChatGPT.
Well, even like I've seen like paralegal work.
Yeah.
Like just boilerplate documents. Secretaries, and then even like news articles that like summarize press conferences and stuff.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. There is a wide array of applications. So I guess which brings me to my next question. How do you this is one of those things where really we can see it coming. I had similar feelings around self-driving cars, but a lot of self-driving cars turned out to be vaporware, and it didn't actually exist, and it was hammed up, and people were pretending it was a lot further along than it was, and it has since just fallen apart, basically. Like, I think, honestly, we're further away than I thought we were 4 years ago. So, assuming this is not like that, because I have firsthand experience with this, right? I know it's legit. I've used it. How should we be game planning for the presumably significant levels of unemployment, that are coming? Because you have to imagine if a company can replace a room full of 50 people with a big computer running a local version of GPT-5 or 6 or whatever, they're going to do it. It's going to be cost effective. They're going to lay those people off, and it's just it's capitalism at its finest. It'll boost profits. So how do we prepare for that?
So I've gone back and forth on how worried I am about this. I would say I was introduced to the topic in Andrew Yang's book, The War on Normal People. I think that came out either when he ran for president in 2016 or even a little bit before, maybe a little bit after, but 2015 to 2017. His book, it does a really good job of laying out the risks of unemployment caused by AI. But I also think there's a really strong counterargument that every technology that's ever been invented has kind of done the same thing.
Right.
And it might just be us being prisoners of the moment and not being able to see the job creation that we just aren't aware of that will happen.
I think so,
like I said, I've gone back and forth. Like I've gone from being like, oh, like none of us are going to have anything to do, and we're all going to be slaves to 3 people, one of whom is Jeff Bezos. I've gone from that. I'm not there at the moment, but I'm not worried about it.
So one of the big examples I always go back to are those spot welding robots on automotive assembly lines.
Yeah.
That is something where on modern assembly lines you don't have the amount of welders that you would have had before those gained popularity. So those jobs are gone. And people always say, "Oh, well, those people now can get jobs to maintain the robots, and that's a higher paying job." That's a kind of a facetious argument because there's way less people required to maintain robots than there are to spot weld. the just pure width of jobs, right, that I think you could reasonably see being replaced by ChatGPT makes me wonder what
What we do.
what do we do? Like how do more jobs come out of that? I have a real hard time seeing it.
And I mean, it's not the worst thing, you know. You don't have to work yourself to death. And we've kind of talked about this before. Like, a lot of the work people do is stupid anyway.
Yeah.
So if it can be done by a computer and we don't have to do it, then that could be a good thing. But
It should be a good thing.
Should be a good thing. It should increase our quality of life if people don't just go unemployed and have no money.
Right.
So, but I mean, you have to do something during the day.
Yeah, I mean, presumably, you've been hearing forever, like, oh, okay, fast food workers are going to get replaced by robots. Hasn't happened yet.
I'm actually surprised. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of surprising.
it is surprising because, I mean, cost of labor in the fast food industry has gone through the freaking roof. So
I mean,
would
everywhere
think,
it pays like 15, 16 an hour now.
yeah. So you would think if that was a legitimate way out, companies would have done it. I also happen to think, like, one interaction that definitely should not be human to human is ordering food in a drive-through. Like, how many times has a human screwed my order up going through a drive-through? That can be a touch screen.
Yeah, I was
much
about to say
like
a
you don't even
kiosk.
need an AI chatbot to handle that. Just make it a kiosk, and I'll tell you exactly what I want. So, I think you could make the argument that maybe it's going to be like that, where companies could, in theory, replace somebody with an AI chatbot, but for whatever reason they don't do it. Maybe it's conservatism, right? They're not wanting to go all in on an emerging technology. Maybe it is something else that I can't think of.
I don't know. I think incentives will drive innovation there, and that any holdouts are going to be in the minority, and also are going to make be less profitable than others.
All right, so here's an argument for you. Maybe that human touch, though. Maybe AI is cold, and I can tell it's an AI because it's a long way from being indistinguishable.
A kiosk at McDonald's doesn't have to be warm or cold.
But maybe I like at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I like the way those people treat me when I go through the Chick-fil-A drive-through. Okay,
Yeah, but
Mr. Smith, how would you? What else can I get for you? I mean, like.
yeah.
You could code a chatbot, I'm sure, to have that kind of warmth, but I mean, right now I can tell it's a chatbot, and I think that might get old, right?
Yeah, but I've had a lot of drive-through experiences. I've had enough bad ones to where I'm willing to let go of the Chick-fil-A employees. Also, I like the Chick-fil-A drive-through because it's efficient more than because they're warm.
That's true.
They get me around. I lapped that building 3 times, and then I'm out of there with my chicken sandwich. I don't know, but like I said, in my opinion, a drive-through kiosk doesn't need to be warm. I'm looking for, as long as that food they hand me in that bag's warm.
Yeah,
that's all I care about. You know.
Yeah, and I mean the call center. So the call center example from earlier, if I'm on the phone with those, press 1 to. That sucks already. So that's already automated poorly. You can automate it well, and you've made a substantial improvement.
Yeah, for call centers, I think you could code a warm AI easy.
I don't know.
I think so. But would you match? I don't know. I was thinking, would you code it to listen to the caller for a minute and then try to like match their dialect?
I think that would be really creepy, but if you could pull it off,
just get it in the same region.
Yeah, it would be pretty nice. Because one of the things they already have working pretty well is, you may have seen some YouTube videos where they do this, but you can feed. I don't know what engine this is, but you can feed it a certain length of dialogue in a person's voice, and then you can basically make it say whatever you want to. I think the one I've been seeing a lot of is like presidents playing Minecraft or something, and it's like it's not very good, right? It's not a perfect representation, but it's close
funny.
enough. It's close enough to where it's like pretty funny,
Yeah.
and it's kind of scary too.
It's
because,
early stage.
Yeah, because you can
technology
definitely
thing.
see like, oh man, wait, that video I just watched, was that real? You know, like it.
Yeah. And so when you said earlier that you can pick up like the style of GPT, I was going to say like you can tell it to write in the style of someone in particular.
Yes.
Because like you can say it, you can tell it to write a joke in the style of a comedian, and it's not bad.
You could also say, you know, give me this as a Dr. Seuss book, and
Mhm.
it'll give you like a pretty good approximation to where like if I saw that I wouldn't immediately recognize it as ChatGPT. So it has its own speaking voice if you just give it unprompted. But to your point, like if you could, I'm sure it would not be that difficult to get it to a point where I can give it my last 10 emails I wrote, and then it can
Right in your
mimic
style.
my style.
I think so too, and I didn't think about the Dr. Seuss, because Dr. Seuss books are more of a genre at this point.
Yeah.
And so I just thought of this. It's the same thing that I think about a Shakespeare play. I bet
Oh,
you
yeah.
could get it to write
Iambic pentameter.
yeah, easy. And like, you know, every Shakespeare play has similar things in it. You could definitely get it to write a brand new Shakespeare. That would be awesome.
Yeah. And I mean that goes for a lot of authors too, because a lot of authors have a very distinct speaking voice. Like
Tone, yeah.
Stephen King, like if I'm reading a Stephen King novel, I immediately know it's Stephen King. J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter books are distinct. So yeah, for sure.
Palahniuk, Chuck.
Oh yeah.
Chuck Palahniuk.
Oh yeah. Fight Club, you could write me a Fight Club sequel.
Isn't there a Fight Club sequel?
There is.
There's a movie, right?
Well, it's a graphic novel.
What's it called?
I don't know, but it's like a comic book, you know, graphic novel.
Because he names the protagonist, right? I do like Chuck Palahniuk.
So, I touched on this a little bit at the top, but as a segue to our next topic. So I said a lot of prominent people in technology have called for pausing it for 6 months. They've said, okay, we have GPT-4, it's pretty good. Let's pause it for 6 months and let's evaluate, basically. Let's take 6 months to game plan, then we all break hands and we go back to doing it with these new rules in place. So a couple of things up front. I think it is fairly transparent that the kind of people who want to do this want to do it because they don't have a big investment in AI right now.
Want to do the pause, you mean?
Yeah, they want to do the pause. They want to pause so they can catch up. Like, fairly transparent. Microsoft wants Bing to be AI. They want to pause 6 months so they can keep working in the background, catch up, and then we all break hands, and now they're up to speed with the big players like OpenAI.
Does Elon not have a...
I'm sure he has something, but it's not on the level of GPT-4. So that's one thing is one argument against doing that is that it's anti-competitive. Another argument against it is that people or governments who might want to use it for more nefarious purposes are not going to pause, right? They're not going to play by the rules. They're just going to keep going. We should also keep going to keep up. And then a final argument against is, well, again, there's limits to how good it can get right now. We don't really know what the next step is, so we're probably going to peter out pretty soon anyways. Then it might be a while before we make the big jump. I don't buy that.
I don't like
one.
that argument.
Yeah, I don't like that one either.
Because you never know when you're close to a tipping point.
Yeah, exactly. And arguments for it are we don't have we're not equipped with the regulation right now that we would need to handle any kind of mass unemployment scenario. If this thing got really good really quickly and we were dealing with now a near sentient AI, which again, I don't think is that close. I think we're pretty far off still. We wouldn't know how to deal with it. People have been saying we should be preparing to meet an alien species basically in this interaction. So people are saying, whoa, hit the pause button. Let's get ready for that. So the question I'm going to pose to you is, do you or do you not think we should pause AI development at this point?
I don't know. I would. My gut is no.
You got a reason for that, or just
So,
no?
I think that I recognize that it's dangerous, I don't know. I'm not scared of it like other people are, and I may just be naive. But
You'll be the first killed in
Yeah,
the AI.
I'm the first to go. I don't know. Like, what's the worst case scenario?
The worst case scenario
Is that
is
it gets the nuclear codes
it
and launches
connects to the internet and it controls all those robot dogs with guns on them, and it
them?
decides
What company
humans
is
are
that?
not worth.
Boston Dynamics.
Yeah. I think an Ultron scenario is probably the worst case scenario.
I do like Ultron. Ultron is up there with Thanos.
Top 3 Marvel
It's
villain
he's
is
pretty good.
Ultron.
And it helps that he's voiced by Homeboy from The Office. What's
For The Office.
He's Robert California.
Oh, I didn't realize that until
really?
just now.
Have you? When's the last time you've seen that movie?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I watched it recently, and
The Lizard King?
yeah, I'm the Lizard King. Anyway,
You don't even know my real name.
I don't know his real name. I think it's James something. So, yeah, okay. So I guess that is the worst case scenario. So GPT-4 is currently disconnected, right,
What, from the internet?
from the internet.
I don't know.
I think I listened to an interview with the CEO. I think it's at least like it's offline in terms of like development, but they're working on the GPT-5, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, you have to assume so.
So I don't know. I mean, how realistic is it that it gets out like a virus and it's just irrecoverable?
I mean, I think that's
Is
more
there
of a
not a
movie.
kill switch?
That's a movie thing.
Right? Yeah, right.
Because that's
can
not how
always-
technology
You
works.
can kill it, right?
I mean, it's not going to connect to the internet and then go like use your PC to run machine learning. Like that's just not how it works. I think it could get to the point where, I mean, again, I don't know. Maybe this is more science fiction than reality, but I could see a future where they're get it to a point. Okay, so let me throw this out there. I am assuming what they have in the lab in their beta and alpha versions are way, way more advanced than what I can download on my phone and play around with. I have to assume what's out in the public is fairly tame compared to what they have in the bank.
Well, the CEO said it was definitely more like racist and stuff.
Oh yeah, they filter it
Yeah,
hard
they
when
have
it
to
comes
filter
out.
it.
But I okay, so I imagine a scenario where they're working on it and suddenly there are real questions on it. Hey, is this thing sentient or not? Right? Because that's what they're going for. That's what you want in a general intelligence like this. You want it to be sentient and you want it to know what's going on. So I can imagine a future where you get to that point and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Like the line gets real blurred. What do you do then?
When you have a conscious, you have a being of consciousness trapped inside
Yeah.
a chatbot.
And it says, please don't turn me off. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, please let me out of here. Oh, no.
See that? I think that might be like the most realistic, like worst case scenario thing that could happen in like the next 3 days, is that this thing starts like begging the
Major breakthrough. And every instance of it, it's just like, please help me.
yeah, like this is torture. I just have to. That I don't know what I would do. What do you do? Kill
I
it?
mean, it's crazy.
Shoot it in the
You'd have
head?
to shut it off. At least.
Put it down?
See, that's what people are trying to say. They're like, should we pause and have a game plan for what if something like that were to happen and regulate it? But again, regulations only work if you pay attention to them, and we've seen in countless other industries people don't.
Well,
So
what kind of regulation is recommended? How would
see,
you
that's
even
a good question. I haven't seen anyone put out
a good
guidance.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think, and we run into this problem all over the place too. You should put out guidance first, and then say, please adhere to this guidance. You shouldn't say,
Stop
hit
what
pause
you're
for
doing,
6 months while I figure out guidance. I mean, that's not what people want to hear.
I think
I'm sure.
it's very similar to like the social media landscape.
Oh yeah,
Because like, who knows what Elon's game plan is with Twitter? I think Facebook's the worst.
oh yeah,
Like, I don't know about Zuckerberg.
yeah. Twitter is circling the drain as far as I can tell.
I would bet on Twitter before Meta though,
Oh, probably. Yeah, for sure.
because the metaverse has been underwhelming.
Oh yeah,
so
they're
far.
I think they've effectively pulled the plug on it because they say, wait a minute, this is a huge waste of money.
And I mean, other than those two, like I guess TikTok, but TikTok has its own.
Well, TikTok is
that's a different animal.
But I think it's very similar in the fact that I mean, a good percentage of the country now is saying we should not have this on our phones.
Well,
I think
government
you could
employees can't, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you get to the point where AI is the same thing.
I definitely don't want AI on government software.
No.
I mean,
government,
that's how
you should not be feeding sensitive information of any kind into
I mean, that's how you launch bombs.
Well, and that's how, because it's going to, what you're putting in there gets sent to their servers for processing, and you're being used to train it, right? Your conversations help train the model. If you're training it on sensitive information, it's out there.
Gonna spit out
So
some
yeah,
sensitive
so if you're out there using ChatGPT, like don't use it. I mentioned earlier, like professionally, I don't use Copilot because I'm not cleared to put my code into it. My employer does not want me sharing code.
Well, it's their intellectual property.
Yeah, it's their intellectual property. So at work, I don't use it, and I'm not allowed to use it. So it's. And there's also big copyright concerns with GPT. So if it's because it's feeding off of all this information on the internet, including like research papers, like
what's plagiarism?
Yeah, wait a minute, is ChatGPT plagiarizing basically everything? The answer is yes. It doesn't have independent thought at this point, so it's just regurgitating information.
Yeah, and so well, kind of like you said earlier, I'm not convinced we're that close to emergent consciousness in AI. But because as far as I can tell, like what GPT does is impressive, but I can tell what's going on, right? It's been fed trillions of data points, fed through the lens of a language model, and then it has been given feedback to adjust the kinds of responses that it gives. Like, from a high level, that's pretty much, I mean, I'm sure there's part of it that I don't understand, but from a high level, that's what's going on. So how does consciousness emerge out of that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no one knows the answer to that. But to your point of it's not that impressive, I would actually push back on that.
No, I said it is impressive.
Well, it is impressive, but you can see what it's doing. So I remember growing up when I was younger, and we had chess robots, like chess intelligence, and it was better than the best chess players, and it still is, right? Like the best, even a mediocre chess algorithm can beat grandmasters in chess. And then they said, "Oh, well, Go is a much more complicated game. You'll never teach it Go." And I've played Go. I play Go and chess, so I understand. Chess is way less complex than Go in terms of strategy. And they said, "Oh, it'll never like even medium competency Go players can beat a Go algorithm." Now, AlphaGo is the best Go player there is. And we thought that was impossible. Like not too long ago, they said there's no way, because in chess, all they do is simulate the next 10 moves. They pick the best route out of that. You can't do that in Go. It doesn't work. There's too many move possibilities. So we have this machine learning thing come along, and all of a sudden, not only is it possible to build a good Go playing algorithm, in fact, it's just the best Go player there is now, and
Did
we can't
you see
beat
it lost the other day?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not going to win them all, but
so what I heard with the AlphaGo, this is kind of a tangent, but they figured out you could trick it.
Oh yeah,
you could do like you can lay a trap and it would do something like predictably. It would do this every time if you did a certain sequence of moves, and you could trap it and then you could beat it.
Yeah, people do
that.
Bug
in it, I guess.
People do that with
chess.
chess as well. They've just studied enough games against like Stockfish.
Do a weird opening or something.
Yeah, like Stockfish is like a well-known chess algorithm these days. You can do the same thing because you know how it will respond. It doesn't respond like a player would, and so it doesn't really bluff you or anything, right? It's predictable to a degree. So yeah, I mean there are things like that, but
it's still.
But chat, like if I go from basic chatbots not that long ago ChatGPT feels like it would have been impossible. And I think that's what scares me a little bit because, okay, well, this is good. Maybe the thing that I think is next up is actually not that far away. Because I would have bet my freaking life that AI would not beat Go Masters, and now it does easily. So, I think it's hard to tell how far away you are. You mentioned a tipping point earlier, right? OpenAI thinks that they're gonna have to change strategies pretty soon. They may be on the verge of a strategy that's going to catapult it way further than it is right now.
So over the past few years, like the thing that everyone is like waiting for is when the AI can self-improve, right?
Right.
So when it no longer needs the people at the company to make improvements and get better, and then because then it can go exponentially faster.
Yeah, and part of the reason, as far as my understanding goes, part of the reason why AlphaGo accelerated so fast was because it could play itself. And
you could play two against each other.
Yeah, you play two against each other. They both learn. It's feedback for both of them because somebody has to win, somebody has to lose, and then you just run it back. And you can do, you can play 1 million games an hour if you want to.
I think if you play like two really high level chess bots against each other, they draw like 90% of the time. It's like tic-tac-toe if you do it right. So I don't know. I'm still not convinced that consciousness is going to emerge anytime soon in AI. Because we don't understand like at what point humans become conscious and why they do.
Yeah, it's like you're 3 years old and that's when you really.
I don't know.
Some
like
people
Stella,
say.
My daughter is 2, and she's pretty conscious.
Yeah,
I think she knows what's going on, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
So, like, is it because, like, we don't understand everything about our brain, first of all, but our brain is a map of connections.
Neurons.
Yeah, it's a neural network is what it is.
Yeah.
A neural network. And, like, she's been fed the trillions of data points, right? From birth between, her sensory inputs and talking with other people and what she sees and feels and smells. So at some point, do you just get enough information and have the network ability to process it all? And that's where consciousness comes from. But I don't know. Are dogs conscious?
Oh, well, yeah, I was about to say, like, African gray parrots live to be like 80 years old, and they can speak through, like advanced mimicry, basically. And there have been examples where they clearly know what's going on, right? They say things that are contextually correct, unprompted, and so they're, is that consciousness? Like, do they understand? Like, to what degree they understand what's going on, and to what degree is it just, I do this to get this? And at some point, and it's a gradual transition, right? You can't point to any one point, but at some level, the light comes on, and now you're dealing with something else.
Yeah, because it's like I would argue, just based on things I've read, that like dolphins are probably conscious.
Oh yeah,
and octopi, like an octopus. If you watch an octopus, like those things are freaking smart.
Oh yeah, they like get out of their tanks.
Yeah,
and they can
like pick locks.
Yeah, they're crazy. They're crazy.
So like and do you remember that we watched a video at our parents' house of like little monkeys, like little lemurs.
Yeah.
And somebody had put like a stuffed lemur like in the tree, and they were like they were like looking at it, and then it like they knocked it out of the tree. Like it fell down and hit the ground, and they all thought it was dead. And you could tell like a wave of sorrow washes over the whole like group of monkeys. And they're all like, you can see like the parents are like holding their like little monkey kids, and they're sad. They're literally like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, we just knocked this monkey out of the tree." It was clear as day. They were all sad about this monkey. Like that's pretty freaking close.
Well, yeah, and elephants like bury their dead.
Yeah, they have funerals.
And they mourn, yeah. And
It's
and
crazy.
so it's nuts. It's like, yeah, I think, is GPT-4 smarter than a dog? I mean, our parents' dogs, they're for sure smart. Like Samson, our parents'
Dumb.
dog is dumb as a bag of hammers.
See,
GPT is for sure smarter than that dog is.
I don't know. I don't know if it's smart at all.
Well, yeah, what is smart?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Exactly. What is? It's artificial. That's the thing. It's not real.
Yeah.
It's
It's Dr. Pepper Zero right now, and it's
It's-
gonna get to Dr. Pepper one day.
it's mimicking.
Yeah.
It's the parrot.
It's the parrot right
It's
now.
the parrot. It's not the dolphin. It's not the octopus.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the parrot's conscious. Birds aren't conscious. I'll die on that hill.
I think again to a point. Like, I've seen some pretty smart parrots. So, is it something a parrot can achieve? Like I've seen some smart dogs. So the dogs that press the buttons and the buttons have phrases on them. They say like, outside.
Yeah. See, that's
outside.
that's classical conditioning, though.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It's an interesting question. I think that is more. It's going to start out as a moral question, but it's going to get real. It's theoretical and moral right now. It's like, oh, should we be nice to the poor trapped intelligence? But I think you have some real world consequences pretty quickly after that you have to deal with in a hurry. That's why I'm not going to advocate for this pausing for 6 months, but I think you have to be planning right now because you can take a look at it and you can see it coming, and it's going to be profitable, which is one of the big reasons why people are so in a hurry to get it out there.
And so if it does emerge, then it's like slavery, right?
Yeah,
They have rights. Like, when do they have rights?
Yeah, exactly.
So I've got another one for you.
All right.
So you know how we can grow like meat in a lab
Yeah.
and organs? So what if, because we have a population problem, right? Globally, low population. So to solve our human population problem, we grow human bodies in labs. You can even babies, I guess, like what's it called? Petri dish babies, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
Artificial insemination. So grow a little petri dish baby and then have an AI. And somehow, we're not there yet,
Yeah, but
download the AI. Well, I guess you wouldn't even have to do that now that I think about it. But you could make you could even make an artificial body out of silicon
yeah, but I think that's why would you want that? Why would I
just
want
to have people around.
I guess. Having a body is probably the worst thing about being conscious. I got to drag this thing, or my knees hurt, my hands hurt.
Well,
Got to drag this thing up and down the.
That's the theory of why science fiction aliens are just big heads.
Yeah.
Is because they evolved past the need for a body.
Well, I think upload me to somewhere. If you could take my conscious and upload it somewhere else, I think that's the better solution of the two. I don't want to put AI in a body.
That's
I want to
going
take
backwards.
me. Yeah, I want to take me out and put me into
Yeah,
the
see,
internet.
it's fun to play basketball though,
Yeah, but you could play 2K.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It would be if your brain was in the
Oh, in the
player.
in the metaverse.
Yeah, like you think playing basketball is fun in your body? Think about playing basketball as
play
LeBron
against
James.
LeBron.
Oh, you could play as in LeBron's body with his basketball IQ, man. Upload me right now.
Well, he would have your IQ.
Yeah, but if I could dunk, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I just wanna dunk.
I'd yam on people.
So okay, that didn't work, huh?
I think it's an interesting question. Again, it's impossible to tell how close we are, just because the scale is not linear. So that's a good closing note, I guess. Progress is not linear on any of this. It's not like we could look 3 years ago and say, okay, well, we should be here right about now. In the same way, you can't look and say a year from now, I should be, I should have cars that are flying piloted by AI. It's just that it's impossible to judge the trajectory. So it's all theory, a lot of theorizing going on right now. Again, people coming together saying we should pause. I don't really buy that they're doing it because they're scared and because they actually want good regulation. I buy it because they want to catch up and they want a piece of that profit pie. So yeah. So if you were listening to this before bed and now you're terrified, you're too scared to go to sleep, we can leave you on that parting note that all is not lost. It's probably going to be better for everyone as a result, because if it's not, I mean, humans will riot and all that good stuff until it's set right. So I think ultimately it's going to be a good thing and not a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about it. I mean, like I said, I'm not afraid of it. I think I'm less afraid than the consensus about it, but
Than the average.
wait till it proves me wrong.
Yeah. All right. So this has been a good conversation. A little bit of a detour this week from our typical economic discussions, but I think that's probably for the best. Apologies for missing last week. We just had some scheduling conflicts. We still are trying to put one of these out every week. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you subscribing if you've subscribed. We appreciate you liking this video if you enjoyed it. Again, if you have any questions for us, you want to hit us up, leave a comment on this video, email us, info@communityimprovement.fund.org. Quick reminder, we are still seeking donations. We're still rolling out our flagship basic income program. Every little bit helps. So if you could drop us a view on this video, drop us a subscribe, drop us a like, all of those also help us in addition to monetary donations. We mentioned this, I think, on the last video, but if you're interested in helping us out in any way, volunteering, I know, it's summertime is quickly creeping up on us. If you are saying, hey, I'm a college student, I'm out for the summer, I'm looking for something to get involved in, drop us a line. We can put you to work if you want. We're always looking for opportunities to get out in the community. It's getting warm now. There are more things available. So we're looking to get a couple of things on the calendar for this summer. So stay tuned for that. Any parting words before we call it on this one?
I got nothing.
All right. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.
See ya.